Sweet. Just going to quickly confirm that I am in fact live.
Confirm.
Looks confirmed to me. All right, sick. So, tower
God, this music is annoying. Sorry, go ahead.
diving. So I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. A couple of things to start off with are thinking about just the way that turrets work, right? So the damage scales over time up to 13 minutes and 30 seconds, at which point they do the maximum damage that they're going to do. And this is the one that's really important. The damage dealt by turrets increases 40% each time they hit a champion, up to 120% bonus damage. So the third hit is as strong as the fourth hit. And the effect resets 3 seconds after the last shot hits a champion, but doesn't reset when switching targets. This catches a ton of people off guard, and this is how most people die during dives, because they don't recognize how this works. So, classic dive might look something like this. So, here we've got 3 champions, right? And we've got a relatively chunked person under the tower, and they're just done, right? So the way that this works is you have one person that's tanky. That person walks in, tanks the tower. Meanwhile, 2 other champions that actually can deal damage actually go in, dive the turret, and then get out. And it is their responsibility to be able to get in and get out before the tank runs out of health. So, in the case of turret roll, that's pretty darn easy, right? Now, because he takes the triple turret shot during that whole thing, right? Once he's done turret bolting, the turret is fully charged. So check out how what the damage looks like once it's done. So there's the second turret shot, here's the third, here's the fourth, it does quite a bit, and here's the fifth. On the Tristana, it doesn't do as much as you might expect because the Taric shield comes through and all of that, and this is only 11 minutes and 31 seconds, so towers are not that strong yet. And then obviously the Herald kills the tower and so on and so forth, right? But this is the basic idea. You want to keep in mind who's going to be tanking. You want to be keeping in mind how much damage the person that's tanking is going to take, and everybody needs to be able to survive the play, right? So one of the things that you will see people do, and I don't have clips for all of this, is, so I'm just going to pull up Riftkit, is the way that people set up dives, especially in like a top lane sort of a scenario, right? So let's say we've got like a half health top laner, right? And we want to dive them, right? And we've got a big wave coming. A lot of the time, the right way to play this is to wait, like jungle will wrap around and show to cut off the top laner's escape path to the right, right? And then meanwhile, we let the wave crash, and top lane comes in with the wave. And then once the wave is crashed, it gives us the opportunity to position ourselves wherever we want to start the dive, right? Like we're not taking a turret shot on the way in when we crash a wave and dive off of the wave, right? And so that's super valuable because it often means that we can execute the kill and only take like 3 shots instead of 4. And that fourth shot, every shot after the third really hurts. So getting out before the 4th shot or the 5th shot is really, really huge. And diving with a wave can really help that. It also means that you have the opportunity to really consider who should tank and who shouldn't tank. and how they're going to get out. If you are diving with champions that are a little bit less mobile, right? Things can be kind of sketchy in a dive because you have to consider how you're going to get out too, right? So I don't know. Like let's imagine that we're playing something easy, right? Like let's say that we're like Sedge, Renekton, and let's say who do you want to be against? I don't know. Something medium difficulty, maybe like a Riven or something like that. Okay. So if we've got a half health Riven and we're trying to dive as Sedge or Renekton, we're like both full health ish, right? Probably what we want to do is we want to lead with Sedge, right? Nothing surprising here. So Sedge, we would get both of us into range, and if Riven goes onto Renekton, as she should, then that's perfectly fine. All it means is that Sedge now is basically under no threat to actually die, right? So in this sort of a scenario, if Riven goes on to the Renekton, we as the Sedge would like Q in, probably press W, auto attack once, and then retreat to the edge of turret range, right? Because the idea is we don't want to get stuck DPSing under turret, uh, and die, right?
At
So
that point, it's on the DPS to
it's
secure
on
the
the
kill.
DPS to be able to figure it out exactly.
Shit. Okay.
So you Sedge goes in, blows their like burst, right? Like this is a really common scenario. Imagine you have like a champion that does burst and a champion that does sustain damage, right? Generally speaking, the burst champion should be the one that tanks the turret because they can blow their load and then be on cooldown and just use the fact that they're on cooldown to tank the turret and then escape at the last second. So the idea would be you go in, Sejuani blows her load, you get like 2 stuns, right? You get the first stun from Sedge, and then you could even get a second stun from Renekton afterwards. And then jungle starts moving away, and then Renekton has to finish off Riven and then get out, right? Now, there are a couple of properties that you can have in champions that make this whole process of turret diving easier, right? One thing is obviously if the Sejuani is super tanky, right? If Sejuani can tank a lot of turret shots, or like a Taric can tank a lot of turret shots, it buys you more time to kill the laner before the person tanking has to leave. Another thing that can be really valuable is range, right? You look at something like a Kindred. Kindred is really good at tanking at turret diving because she can deal her whole damage in this play from here, right? And there's no movement back from here to here. You can just deal your DPS from here and you can continue to DPS even a little bit longer, right? So that's really valuable. And then the third and final thing that's really valuable in a turret diving scenario is aggro resets, right? Going invulnerable. If you go invulnerable, turret aggro will switch. And it will switch to like the closest minion first, and there's some like rules involving like pets and traps and crap like that, but that's it'll swap to minions until another champion deals damage. And so if you have an aggro reset, a person can go in, like imagine it's like a Kane, okay, right? Kane can lead the charge, even though he's kind of sustained DPS. And once he gets to the point where he's kind of low, he just slurps himself up inside of the enemy top laner, at which point the turret will reset aggro onto either the nearest minion, if nobody does any more damage after he slurps, or the next person who's doing damage in the dive, right? So one of the things that you can do that's actually really disgusting, especially if you're diving with a wave, is you can go in, you can do a bunch of damage, then do like your reset, let the minions tank turret shots for 3 seconds, and then re-engage, and the turret has unwound by that point, right? So you can do kind of like a two-part deal. Um, but you can also just use it to cleanly have the turret switch targets partway through a dive. So you can utilize two people's HP bars rather than just one. So Kayn slurps in, top laner continues to attack. They tank like maybe 2 turret shots. And then Kayn comes out and finishes off. Right?
Yeah, Aaron.
Mm.
It's slightly different when I'm on a burst champion like Talia or Eve.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to engage off of my charm or my W on Talia.
Right.
So it's a little faster pace where we do all the damage and it should be done by my combo.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, if you can just walk in, one shot, and leave, that's great, right? You know, I mean,
Yeah.
there's nothing that needs to be
But
said
that's
there.
more like assassin, but
Yeah.
it's hard to execute because if you mess up, then it doesn't work.
Right. So, in the case of like a Talia dive, I think that's a really great example. One of the things that Talia is really good at is Talia has 2 of the properties that make for a good diving champion: burst and range, right? So what you can do is Talia can walk in range of the turret, and let's say it was like Talia with Renekton, right? So the correct way to play it would be to, the two of you walk into turret with the wave. You wait until Renekton is in position, like ready to go, and then Talia fires a single auto attack. And that auto attack guarantees that turret aggro goes to Talia, right? And at that point, Renekton is like good to go, right? Like you wait to see the turret, the line from the turret go on to the person whose job it is to tank the dive, and then you're free to DPS. You're free to do whatever you want, right? So one auto attack flies out, Talia starts tanking turret, Renekton goes in, and then Renekton actually leads the fight, right? Renekton stuns, which then guarantees Talia's whole combo. The person
Yeah.
dies, and then Talia leaves aggro range after only taking like 1 turret shot. But that's the sequence, right?
It's harder to execute though.
It is hard to execute, especially when they're
Because
trying not to get hit.
yeah, and Renekton can like just flash on me or
I'm saying
whoever
we're
it
the
is and
Renekton.
stun me.
We have Renekton Talia
Yeah,
versus
yeah,
some
yeah.
team.
I meant
Yeah.
whoever is under turret when it's
Yes.
assassins. There's more outplay potential because
Yes. If they're
they could
slippery, if
flash
they're
on me or something.
good to anti-dive, if they're tanky, or if they have ways to drop aggro or to mobility away, things can get really scary really fast. So it helps, just like in any kind of a ganking scenario or a picking scenario, to have good burst damage, good lockdown, you know, like all of this stuff. Now keep in mind how this changes when you add a third person, right? Let's say we have a support Alistair roaming from bottom, right? That makes this entire situation way easier because now you have 2 people that are tanky, 2 people that deal damage, and even more crowd control, right? So in a 3v1 scenario, dives should be pretty much free, right? Because as long as you're paying attention to the person that's tanking and when they exit the tanking range, right? Again, if there is a wave there, it will hit the wave. If there's no wave there and no one deals any damage, it will hit the closest person to the turret. If there's a wave here and it starts to aggro this, but then one of them does damage, it'll aggro to the person that did damage. That was like a sequence of 3 things, right? Did that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So, but if as long as you are able to pay attention to kind of the turret rules and who it's going to target next, and you think about who has the damage, who has the durability to actually tank, you can quite easily juggle aggro between 2 people and then have 2 people DPSing, and even from like pretty much full health, you can kill most people, especially in the early game where nobody has that much durability. The turret doesn't do that much damage, right? So this is why when you see or this is a big part of why when you see bot lane rotating up to top lane, right? Like after they've taken this turret here, it can be really scary to actually stay as the enemy top lane, because most of the time, especially in this meta where supports tend to be pretty aggro, you wind up being able to dive AD carry, support, and jungle versus one top laner. And they just will die under turret from full. Especially if the AD carry has like good damage. Right?
Mhm.
So that's kind of the basic theory of diving. Do y'all have any questions?
Kind of. So, one thing that I think we've struggled with a little bit in the past is what happens when it gets a little unclear as to who's the aggro taker. Like, let's say it's, I don't know, J4 and Garen looking for a dive here.
Sure. So if it's J4 and Garen looking for a dive, there are a couple of different ways that can play out. So in that kind of a scenario, the factors that you want to pay attention to are like, so in all of these cases, I'm assuming that the person that's getting dove is low enough to make all of this work, right? But there's kind of two ways that I can see this going, right? Generally speaking, the way that I would play that as a dive is I would go in as Jarvan, and then I would tank while Garen is DPSing. And then when I'm getting low, instead of EQing onto the target, I'm going to EQ out to drop aggro. And that's basically what you have to do when neither person is ranged and neither person is like absurdly tanky, right? One person is going to get in and they need to save their mobility to get out. Garen has no mobility, right? So if Garen tanks, Garen is stuck under turret or basically has to auto and then just leave, right? Because you're not going to be able to tank that many turret shots.
Right.
So the Jarvan, on the other hand, has the mobility to take maybe 2, maybe even 3 turret shots, depending on how early we're talking and how much armor they have, and then leave with the EQ. And then at that point, it's up to the Garen to be able to finish it and get out, right? But as long as, like, 3 autos plus the tanking is enough time for the Garen to be able to finish the person off, like, usually it'll be okay. And again, keep in mind, if the Garen can finish the person off before J4 leaves aggro range, the turret will not re-aggro Garen if there are still minions nearby, right? So if you can finish the person and then J4 leaves, then the turret will go back to tanking the minions. If Garen still needs to finish off the kill after Jarvan leaves, then you're in a little bit of a sticky situation because you're going to take a fully charged turret shot for it. And at that point, you basically they have to have been running, right? If they're smart in that situation, what they'll do is they'll stand like right on top of their turret so that even when they die, they return the kill on the Garen. So because the Garen can't finish it off and get out at the same time, right? This is a lot of the times why you might end up wanting to do like a little 2-part dive, right? If you're the Garen in that scenario and it starts looking like it's not going well, right, but you still have a wave here, what you can do is you can let Jarvan leave, and then instead of continuing to DPS and continuing to actually try to kill, you just like stand menacingly nearby, right? You just kind of like hang out while the turret's continuing to attack the minions. You wait for 3 seconds, and then you like re-engage and then maybe flash out or something like that. Know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
So all of this, of course, is predicated on the fact that you have a wave and that it's big enough to tank for a significant amount of time, keeping in mind that that wave isn't going to go anywhere once you start tanking, right? Unless they like spend all of their cooldowns bursting the wave, right? Which is a thing that they can do. Be aware of it. That wave will generally stay healthy under the turret as you're tanking. So, especially if you have a larger wave, like, dives can be pretty free. So, do y'all remember if we did any dives during the Clash games?
think there was at least one.
Do you remember what game it was in?
Probably.
I don't recall specifically. I might be wrong. We might have not even done one. I feel like there should have been at least one.
Yeah. So I was
I feel
just
like there
figuring
would have
like we
been
could
one
just
in the Darius game, but
yeah, let's just watch those games on like 4X and see if we can find some dives around the map. Yeah?
cool.
Yeah. Beat.
So we can also look for opportunities where there probably should have been dives and weren't, right? And talk about how they could go. So in this game, we have Eve, and Eve is awesome because Eve has an execute and an aggro drop, right? And high burst damage. So in theory here, we should have quite a bit of ability to do dives around the map. So we'll just follow Eve and see how this goes.
30 seconds until minions spawn.
Yada yada. 5 point. Cares. Big
Minions
recall.
have spawned.
Right, so there was kind of a dive. I mean, it's like worth noting that we did like take a turret shot for this. And you can see that the rough form of it is kind of what we talked about, right? One person enters the turret, and they do a little bit of DPS and tank, and then when they can't take another turret shot, they leave aggro, and it's up to the person that's there to continue the dive.
It did work. I should have called it a little earlier because Cam didn't think that there was a kill, but yeah,
So
he
we
just
missed the
missed all his
queue, and
abilities.
yeah, if we miss everything, then we have to dive for this. But even from this position, with no cooldowns on the Lux, it's still a dive. It can still work. You get all of your, 3 Qs off, and then you just stand at the edge of turret. Cam gets the last auto and doesn't even take a turret shot. Now, if we had been slightly better on the auto movement from Cam here, we actually can have Cam be the one tanking the turret, right? So
Yeah.
imagine that we're like paying really close attention and getting all of our auto movement off, right? We can throw our Q, we can auto once and immediately be moving. We stop, we auto, we stop, we auto, right? Like, we probably could have been here, and then even though you're a little bit further back, you have to like you have to leave a little bit of distance. Chem can actually be the one that tanks turret, and then you can get like.
Yes. I mean, ideally, that's not a dive, and I don't.
Ideally, it's not a
dive.
dive. We just hit our stuff, so whatever. But yeah, that would have been the nicer way to execute it, since the Eve was already low health. You get what I'm saying? It feels bad for you to be the one to tank it. But with the positioning the way that it was, there wasn't really anything to be done. Yada yada. So they choose not to dive. Generally is the correct call for them.
I didn't have to auto there. Auto gap.
Now, they probably could have killed me there in a dive. Let's think about that. So. Mumu shows up here on the flank. Now, Mumu has second Q. If he just lands it here, and they're all walking forward, I feel like he, with his bone plating plus 1,000 health, and the turret's only doing like 250, I think they can finish me off here. Especially since
Oh, yeah.
Kaisa still has flash, Morg still has flash and ignite. Like, I should also be dead. They don't know it.
If that
I
happens
don't know
though,
if the Morg
that's actually what I
has
was hovering for.
mana for any abilities, though, so it would come down to the Kaisa
Look,
having
look at
taken
my
enough damage quickly enough.
pathing. I'm expecting them to dive.
Yeah, right. I was expecting them to dive too, and then they just left. Now, I am thinking to myself, oh yeah, I still have cleanse and I still have flash, right?
Oh, maybe
So
that's
if
what they're
I
thinking.
get, so maybe they're smart, and they were tracking those cooldowns and knew that I still had them up. Because if he does Q me under tower here, I do just cleanse flash away, and then even if the Morgan the Kaisa flash after me, they probably can't catch me, right? So this is one of the things that really affects turret diving a lot, is whether somebody has flash or whether somebody has, ignite or something like that, right? Like those can really make the difference in a diving scenario between making it work and making it not, and having it not work. If you are actually tracking people's summoner spells and you know when they're going to come up and you know when they're down, that completely changes the dynamic on whether somebody is diveable or not. So if you want to have more successful dives, tracking summoner spells is kind of a prerequisite to that. Because otherwise, you have to play like they always have flash up, and most dives don't work when the enemy has flash up. It's just they can create too much distance between you and them, and during the chase down, you're taking turret the whole time, and you really need to be fully DPSing the entire time in order for a dive to work, generally speaking. They can wait for you to take aggro and then flash away under their own turret. It gets really awkward really fast. Anyway, fall, we can do camps, walk in the river and die, kick W.
Cam was like, go in. And I was like, oh. I should have just ignored him.
Yeah, so in like this kind of a spot, this Gnar is pretty vulnerable here. I know we're on the bottom side of the map, but like, imagine that this Gnar was under his turret, right?
He was a second ago, too.
Yeah, and he was a second ago. If he's 500 health under his own turret, even with flash, I feel like we can make this happen if we have Eve up here with ult and electrocute going.
For
Right.
the game state, I want
in
to
this
go.
game state it doesn't work, but I'm
No.
just saying, like, we can imagine how this could work if he was under his turret. If he was under his turret, basically what we would do is we would crash the wave. We could, and I don't even think we necessarily have to Malphite R. I think we walk in, Malphite throws Q lands, Malphite starts taking aggro.
No,
Eve blows all of her stuff.
I think that it goes differently.
Yeah.
I think I charm, I lead, and then Malphite R. I'm still tanking, and then I execute, and it's done.
See, my plan, let me hit you with my plan. My plan is Malphite Qs. If he flashes away, once Eve starts showing and
with flash.
DPSing, Malphite can follow with R and probably still get out because Malphite still has flash as well. And
I don't think it matters
if
I charm.
If he doesn't flash, then he just dies without either of your Rs. Because you can easily do 500 damage without using your R if you have electrocute up.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a
This is
cleaner
Malphite
dive
Q-
if we just charm.
It's a more guaranteed dive, but one of the things that you need to think about is what are you spending to make this dive happen? And the fewer resources you can spend that still result in a successful dive, the happier you are. You save your ults.
Okay.
So if he's this low, you don't even need your ults to kill him. You can just dive him through proper fundamentals by having the
I didn't
tankier
see his
person.
health either.
Yeah, this is what I'm coming up here and talking about, right? So when he's 500 health, less than, you don't even need ultimates. You don't even need to abuse your aggro resets as long as you're just diving fundamentally properly. And the most fundamentally proper way to do it is Malphite throws a Q and waits at the edge of turret range, tanks like 4 turret shots, and Eve just kills the 300 health Gnar under tower. and then just walks away.
Yep.
So, generally speaking, the tankiest person should be the one to take aggro. If there's nobody that's tanky, it's the burstiest person should take aggro. And if there's no one tanky or bursty, then you should question whether the dive is going to work. You know what I mean? I guess it should be the most mobile person is the third most important thing, because then at least they can go in and then they can get out. Right? Anyway. Interesting.
I think the
That's
plan was to
BS.
die.
That's BS.
Okay, let's watch that one. What happened here? Oh yeah, this was the failed dive. I remember this. So here, my whole thing was, we have a wave coming in, we can play this pretty slowly, right? Eve has stealth, and in a pure 2v2 scenario, we can't dive, right? Kaisa is pretty safe. She has no summoners and she has no ultimate, but it's difficult for her to get dove by us because we don't really have that incredible ways of diving. If we walk in and I start taking aggro because I'm the mobile one and I can get out, then we don't have enough DPS to finish her off.
I called this because I was tilted because I died
Yeah,
twice
I know.
from stupid calls.
I know, but I'm just going to go through what's the right way to make this happen.
Yep.
Right? So in this scenario, the ideal is we wait. Now the wave is starting to crash into the turret, and that's going to give us the ability to freely position in the turret's space to start getting this to work. Right? So in this scenario, we just have Braum walk in and fish for a Q. Right? Maybe even onto Morgana. It doesn't even have to be onto the Kaisa. It can be onto the Morgana. And when that, or if that lands, then the possibility of a dive is alive, right? Braum starts tanking aggro. Eve can go in and try and make something happen. One of the things that Morgana can do to counterplay this is Morgana can try to root the Braum in tower range so Braum dies, right? So Braum has to be very careful of this. Braum probably has to anticipate the Morgana Q, and if it gets thrown, Braum has to immediately W to somebody else to try to not get hit by it. But Braum should be tanking tanking the turret, and if we get a good angle, Braum can also try to R. Right? It's also possible, and this is maybe even the more correct way to set it up, that we just don't dive right away. Eve wraps around from behind while this whole wave is dying, and the issue with that is that I feel like the wave is going to die pretty quickly, right? If we had a larger wave here, if this was a 2 wave, then we would have time to wrap Eve all the way around and then get them like totally pincered, and Braum can,
I mean, I'm just
R and then
tilted.
leave, right?
Yeah.
I'm not really worried too much about like what actually happens here. I'm not really focused on that. I'm just talking about like what's the correct way to dive in the future. I totally understand why this happens the way it does, but this is how this ends up happening. So in this scenario, what we actually do is I Q, I have no E, and then this was just really unfortunate, right? This was just you getting hit by the binding off of the back
so
here.
unlucky.
Yeah. Now, of course, Morgana is going to be going for that. I think she was even trying for Braum, right? I don't even think she knew that you were there. Right?
She was trying for Braum. Braum eat out.
Like,
She-
this is
she
actually
didn't know.
hysterical. I feel like if I go to their vision, she's throwing it at Braum and it hits Eve, who was like in stealth. Is that actually
Yes.
the way that it looks?
I think that's what happened.
I want to see this, because if so, that's so funny.
It's tilting.
Yeah, literally throws it at Braum and then switches up. That's so funny. But yeah, basically at this point, it's doomed. because we've already engaged the dive. Braum has gone in and used Q, and it's going to hit, and we're going to take aggro on Braum. And there's no follow-up. I have no E.
back to you either. Yeah, that's rough.
Yep.
So bad.
So, Braum starts tanking. We throw the R. It doesn't land because of Black Shield, that I don't think anybody was thinking about.
So he-
Braum continues to run forward,
he R's the person
trying
not
to get in
Black
there.
Shield.
We flash in with Eve. I land a single auto. And at this point, we're both DPSing, so it's not at all clear who's going to take turret aggro. This is part of the problem here. And because my auto attack happens to land milliseconds before Eve's charm lands, it ends up aggroing to me rather than to Eve. If this aggroes to Eve, this dive actually works, and we just lose Braum and get 2, and it's fine. Right? Because in this spot, we kill them both, and then at that point, the aggro would not be on me and I would not be taking a 4th shot. It would instead be on Eve, and then Eve would reset tower aggro and it would target these.
I mean, it's just unlucky because of the Morgana Q.
It's unlucky because of the Morgana Q.
Yeah, we could play it slower.
Yeah. So this is actually, amazingly, this is actually my misexecution on this dive. Because even with the Morgana Q, this still can work. All that it has to be is in this spot. I need to be aware that Braum is going to die to the next turret shot, and I need to stop DPS right here. I need to continue walking forward but not auto attack, so that Eve can guaranteed take the aggro. Right? This auto that's in the air, this one right here that's about to land, is what causes me to take turret aggro. If I just don't fire this auto, this dive works. Because we get to here, and instead of me tanking the aggro, it would be Eve.
So you literally just had to wait a millisecond more.
Yep, I had to wait a millisecond more and consider the aggro rules of turrets, right? Because again, if a champion is in range and they're taking damage and they die, if no more damage to enemy champions happens, then it will reset to the nearest target, basically.
I mean, I think it was... Yes.
If it hits a minion after it ends up killing the Braum there, does the tower damage ramp up also go away?
The damage ramp up expires. The damage ramp up only affects tower shots against champions, and the damage ramp up goes away after 3 seconds of not attacking champions. So
Okay, so it wouldn't immediately go away. You would have to.
Yeah. Well, what it would be though is what I'm saying is Eve still has her aggro reset, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in this
I was
spot,
just curious.
yeah. So at this point, turret has ramped up twice, right? Then it attacks me for a 3rd hit, and then that 3rd hit kills me because it does a bunch of extra damage. It used to be that every time it changed aggro on somebody, it reset to 0. Then they changed it so that aggro switching did not reset the turret ramp up damage, and that was to make it harder to dive. That was a patch note maybe about a year ago, because people were getting too good at coordinating them in pro play. It's just everybody getting go all the time. Junglers were too OP for that reason.
Red team has slain the dragon.
Jungle this, jungle that. Stop changing jungle so much. Jungle this.
Shut down. Red team's turret has been destroyed.
mocking me.
Killing.
Feels like, we've exited lane. Turret dives are going to be mostly 5v5s now. It's not as relevant, right? I think we can move on to the next match.
I blame the jungler.
True.
Yeah, that first game was so sloppy. My bad.
It's okay, man. We're all getting our
Welcome to
footing.
Summoner's Rift.
This one went a lot better, as you will recall. So this one, look at this. It's literally Jarvan Darius, right? Now, diving a Mordekaiser is a grief. Because Mordekaiser can always suck somebody into the Shadow Realm. So, that deletes all of the minions around. It's basically
30
impossible.
seconds until
Unless he
minions
is
spawn.
so incredibly low, it's never going to work diving a Darius. And basically, it's never going to work diving an Azir either, because he's so slippery with his Sand Soldiers. He's got his big knockback. He's got barrier. It's really, really tough to ever dive that, too. So, the only real place that I see dives happening in this game could be in bottom lane. And in bottom,
I remember correctly. This game's pretty slow. There's not a first kill for a while.
There isn't a first kill for a while. It's this fight in bottom is the first time that something happens. So, I'm trying to remember what this was even. Oh, was this this was an attempted gank. I said I was
I said I
went
didn't
for it
care.
anyway. She flashed away.
We just walk away.
And that's still worth doing. But Brock wants to continue. I don't know what any of this is. We're gonna just fight him 2v2 fresh Jarvan against Jinx Senna in their wave. Yeah, that's gonna work great. And then we're just like, what are we? Oh, and then you wanted to help me reset. That's what was going on here. And then Senna flashes away. Who is here?
It's doomed.
Totally doomed, and I can't do anything. So this is unrelated to diving, but take this as a lesson. I do literally 64 damage when I have no mana. I do nothing.
That is my bad.
Nothing.
I have a patience problem. What can I say?
Yes.
That's patience gap.
It is. Anyway, yeah, nothing really happens, and then there's this giant outplay that I posted. This was hilarious. Just kill everybody.
Yeah.
And then there's this huge Drake fight. But yeah, generally, just both comps are so front to back that there's not really any dives in this game. So I don't think there's really much to watch here in terms of dives. And then there was this game.
I'm not sure if there's a dive in this game.
There might be. I feel like you came top quite a bit in this one.
I was everywhere. This game, I was an animal.
Yeah.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift.
Let's see what I do.
I remember I actually got some ganks in this game.
Oh, well.
We bonk them.
Minions have spawned.
I'm actually pathing you, so there's that. Going for you.
Yeah, we wanted
then
to
Kale is like...
Oh, that's why I'm pathing you.
Yeah.
Here we go.
So here's a Kale. So let's watch this regular speed, just because first ganks are always worth watching, right?
Yeah, you walk a little, you scare her off a little bit.
Yeah, she gets spooked, but then she just doesn't react. She just doesn't care.
No, I remember this. She sees you like 3 times. She's dumb. She's very dumb. We get the flash and we think, okay,
so in
that's
this,
good. Got a
you actually
flash.
could have killed her here, right? It's patience gap again. No. Watch it again. So for one thing, you should be hanging out here if the play.
Well, okay, I don't think that she's gonna be that dumb. So I'm like, okay.
Oh, you're already pathing away. Okay, never mind. Well, even so, yeah, right here. Just walk at her. Don't EQ. Walk at her.
Okay, I know. Patience.
Right? If
Patience
you just
is
walk
a
at
virtue.
if you just walk at her, you catch her here, she still takes a million damage from Garen and has to flash, and then once she flashes, you EQ after her and you actually kill her in her tower.
Yeah. And Aaron has flash still.
Yeah, Aaron can follow. Like, she's dead.
I think we get a dive right here anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she's
It's the
really
opportunity
bad.
to, anyway. He is going to be up here, but let's check out how you play it. So, we waffle forever, and then she just goes and checks Tribrush like a freaking monkey. Oh, and then we dive Yi. Or we...
No, we don't.
No,
We don't.
I remember
dies,
calming,
though.
like, please be careful. don't die to Yi things.
I was full on like impatient. I'm just gonna kill him over and over mode.
Yep.
And that's exactly what I do this game.
And fortunately for you, they are weak enough that it works. Around. Catch you in some jungle, takes blue.
That we actually macro that 3 times.
Yeah, the macro was crazy. Cryo gap.
Yeah. Wow.
Okay, looking for a lane gank.
Sag. I could have held that.
Yep. Impatience.
I think we get a dive off here, 2 dives.
Yeah. So in this
Yeah,
spot, right? Again, a little impatient with the Q, but the idea is roughly there. You guys walk up, and then once the minions are there, Jarvan is now here. Jarvan is now tanking turret. And then Jarvan leaves turret, and it's fine. You know? So, this wasn't a particularly difficult gank, but it was well executed enough. I think the only thing I would have wanted is like we were talking about in the Rift kit. Consider Jarvan starts the gank by attacking and then EQs out. Through them and out. Stat checked.
Yeah, that's why I don't pick Yi.
Lamau.
That could kill me if she were good. No, she didn't have flash.
He could kill you if he's good.
Yes, but his champion's not good, so.
A little team fight in the river here, and the game. Quadrant for J4. It's GG. Go next. Yeah. So at this point, I feel like probably the best way forward would be to do some drills, right? Some
Sure.
like
Yeah.
1v1. It would be like 1v2 drills actually, or even 1v3 drills.
Hell yeah, sounds like something we can actually win.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, right? So the it would be something like imagine a 3v3 or a 2v2 where the rule was you can't regularly gank. You can only dive if you want to gank. Wouldn't that be an interesting game?
Sounds fun.
So, I don't know that we have anyone else online to actually do that right now.
Can it just be us 3?
Yeah, actually, now that you mention it, it probably could be, right? So, I think what we'll want to do is let's do a top 2v1. So I'll be on the receiving end, and you guys try to coordinate to dive me, and I'll let you pick like whatever you think is like a really nice favorable matchup. You feel like you should be able to coordinate a dive against. Yeah?
Well, let's try the Cedron acting, because I think that's harder to execute.
Sure. Cedron action sounds good.
Yeah, compared to if I'm on Assassin, because I mean,
Yeah.
we could try that too, but
Yeah. So what do you feel like is a matchup that you can really bully as Renekton?
I think Renekton does really well into Riven. I think it does well into Nasus. Uh, Potentially Yorick. Let me take a look real quick.
Yeah. I mean, shit, I can even play, like... I'll play the
Just
Nasus. I'll play the Nasus.
Yeah.
How about that?
That's a pretty terrible matchup.
That sounds good. So, I'll go ahead and create a custom. Invite the both of you.
Yeah, I was right. Yorick is pretty shit against Renekton.
And let's imagine that I'm blue side, and for some reason I pick Nasus blind. You two are on red side against me.
Get on my team, Aaron.
Oh. Oops. All I saw was 2 Emerald players. Couldn't tell the difference.
And we'll just
What do AD Nasuses take? Fleet, right?
I think they do now, yeah.
Okay.
The cycle of life and death continues. We will live.
And I want
they
these
will
dives to
die.
be so strong that, like, I can see them coming and still not be able to get out. So I'm actually going to stay in call with y'all as you're coordinating against me. And the one rule that that is true for me is that I'm not allowed to I'm not allowed to play to recall under turret when I'm low. I can recall if I crash a wave, but if I'm low, I have to stay to give you guys the opportunity to dive. Sound like a plan?
Yeah. I think the easiest way to do this, Aaron, is I'm just gonna full clear up. I might skip a camp, and we want to like get at least 2 waves under this turret.
Yep. This is a
Welcome
matchup
to
where
Summoner's
I
Rift.
don't really think he can stop me from pushing, so.
Yeah, but we want to slow push it
Yep.
because I need
30
3.
seconds until minions spawn.
The ignite also really helps in a diving scenario that's this early. Level 3, level 4 dives, you kind of generally want to have ignite. Otherwise, it can get pretty suspicious, unless they're really quite low. But, you know, we can do some stuff too. We don't have to play to execute all of these perfectly. We can just try for a dive and see how close it is,
Between life
right?
and
Yeah,
death.
it's a little rough without the ignite. That's why I want the 2 waves.
Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, in this matchup, I probably would take Ignite too.
But since you don't have it, let's see how close we can get it, right? Like we'll do this like level 3, level 4 dive, and just see how low you can get me.
Eons pass like days. Your legacy will drift away, blown into eternity like the sands of the desert. Burden sleep. Death is a harsh witness.
Did not account for your clear time there.
Okay.
Fine, I'm just gonna do what I do.
Life is part of a cycle. Yours is over.
Okay, we just want to shove this wave.
Yep.
So, I'm gonna go there. So just wait for me to get in position.
Yep.
Alright, this should work. Let me go in. Yeah, so that does not work without the ignite.
Or without me being lower. I was like 3/4. You know.
Yeah.
So let's reset
I-
try again.
Yeah, I think also, Aaron, the moment I'm about to hit him, like you have to be there ready for my engage because there was a slight delay of waiting for me to hit him. I don't know how else to describe that.
It's just gonna take some practice with the tempo
Mhm.
of it, because I was waiting to
Yeah.
see the line drawn to you before I went in.
Oh. Yeah. No, if he's aggroing me, it will switch. You don't have to literally wait for the line to be drawn. I realize that I probably said that, but that was not clear. So, as soon as he starts damaging, it's like when the line gets drawn is when the turret shot is actually going to start firing, right?
Mhm.
You can actually, this is actually a good thing to talk about. If you start the dive just as a turret shot fires on a minion, that's the best time to do it because the turret it still has attack speed, so it's going to take the longest time to recharge and then re-aggro and then fire a shot, right?
Right.
So if you have the opportunity to pick your moment, that's the best moment to do it. Is right as
Remember,
a turret
take
shot is
ignite.
fired.
Because even if we execute that flawlessly, one of us dies with that ignite.
Continues. We will live.
Try a
they
different
will
rune
die.
too. Actually, I'm gonna try a few things differently here.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't even think I built right from the start.
Shurima is not of this time.
Yeah, so we want even slower this time. Because by the time I was to my red, if the 2/8 had crashed.
Yeah. Yep. I, for some reason, had it in my head that you would be done by 3 minutes.
I am
That's a
playing
very, very
Evelyn
fast clear.
correct. Yes.
Sedge is
Yeah.
a slower clear.
If
Yep.
I'm playing like
30 seconds
Karthus,
until
I'm
minions
there. If
spawn.
playing Evelyn, I'm there. Sejuani, not so much. Not very strong right now. Hard champion to balance.
The fleet definitely feels good. It kept me pretty topped up, actually. I got quite a lot of healing off of it last game.
Yeah, that was kind of another pain in the ass.
Minions
Every
have
time I
spawned.
damaged you, you just heal back up.
I do have Doran's shield and bone plating and fleet, so I'm a regular top laner. I am going to be sort of unless you find empowered W trades, it's always going to be a pretty it'll be a slightly favored trade, not like an incredibly favored trade.
And also keep in mind, Aaron, if I have a leash, it will be slightly faster.
That is true. Quite a bit faster, actually.
Good point.
Buried.
Yeah, so your game state is win con.
Oh, I'm lagging.
Through the ages.
Gonna crash too soon again.
Okay, we can just set it up again.
This return to the dust. Perhaps Shayla was meant to fall.
So the dive is here after this, if you can get this wave under.
Yep.
He is.
Yeah,
He's
I'm
very
literally full.
healthy.
I don't know if this is gonna work, but we'll see. I could E this wave to
Let's try. Let's just try.
do it, but yeah. Oh shit.
All right, ready?
Yeah, and you can still So you see how close that was. Like, it actually works if I'm, like, even slightly damaged more than I was, right? If I'm, like, 3/4 health, I'm dead to that dive. Which is kind of terrifying, isn't it?
Hey, come back, Aaron. What?
I know. I just. This one's really freaking hard to set up, just with the combination of who we've got
There will be nothing.
and who we're playing into. Your sustain is massive.
You want to swap it, and I'll do the Renekton side?
Sure. I mean, I'm not a very good Nacid.
I don't know. Let's keep going on this. Let's keep going on this. I think most of what's going on is that it's just the mismatch of timings, right? Like, we're just I'm getting low off of the level like 1 and 2. I'm getting to like half, and then and then the waves are crashing, and it's not really working too well. I think remember what we talked about with, like, you got to be really careful about queuing the wave when you're trading with me because it starts to shove it too hard. I think that's what's happening here.
Think I was really queuing the wave that much until we had to slam it under. Like, I think the bigger issue is more along the lines of, like, when I try to trade with you,
Right.
your minions start attacking me, so my wave's going to be shoving pretty hard at that point.
Correct. So you might want to wait on the trade until you're actually at a level where it is, like, going to do enough damage to be worth the amount of extra push it generates. Get what I'm saying?
I can try that.
The cycle of life and death continues.
There is also the option that you know, you guys don't have to dive me at 3. Like, you could dive me at 6, and that would be perfectly fine. You know? Like, you
we
are
could try it this
allowed
time.
you are allowed to dive me at whatever point you feel like you actually have the capability to.
Yeah, the Sejuani clear speed might not make the early dive.
Yeah, I wouldn't
Line
dive
up
an
super
Nasus
well
at
with
level
this
4
one.
with Cedronectin. Unless the Nasus is so fucking low, like he's like below half. Then I would do it at level 3. But unless you get that, I don't think it's good.
Their death awaits.
All right, this time, Aaron, I just want you to play it out like you would if I weren't coming.
Sure.
And then we'll try and do it at 6 this time.
Welcome Summoners
I can still gank you, but it's looking hard for the dive.
And remember, not allowed to gank
30
unless it's a
seconds
dive.
until minions spawn.
Yeah. Hey, we could kill him if it wasn't a dive. So just pretend like I'm pathing bot. For whatever reason. They have Yumi and
Enough said.
yeah. they have a Yumi plus Malphite bot lane or
Minions
something. I
have
don't know.
spawned.
Yumi plus Bard bot lane, so I'm trying to gank them or something.
Lamau.
The sky is filled with dying stars. Eternity is beyond your reach. Your spirit is hollow.
Okay. I feel diveable. Oh no.
For grace.
Frantically charging my fleet stacks. Now I'm fine. Ocean popped. Big chilling.
I bring
All that damage just goes right away. I fucking hate Nasus.
He's got the sustain. The lifesteal passive is very large. Very large sustain.
Yeah, I think this is gonna be a 6 for this matchup.
I think so too.
If it were like an Irelia or something, it might be different.
Or if you're playing the J4.
You can put me on whatever champion you like, by the way.
errant
If you want to switch off of the Nasus.
empires.
Play something more fragile.
No, it's good.
Good practice, yeah.
Can't gank that, even though it would be a kill. Yeah, I'm just gonna ego him to show him I can kill you right now.
I know.
I'm
fully aware.
I'm
Oh, I'm not
standing there.
allowed to recall. I'm not allowed to recall while low.
I'm standing there menacingly. Oh wait,
I'm
he's
not allowed
low.
to recall while low.
He's
You can
low.
dive me.
He's
You
low.
can dive me. You can dive me. You can dive me. You can dive me.
I actually can. All right, it's happening.
Let's do it. God damn it.
He flashed. Oh.
I'm dead.
Yeah, when he flashes like that, it's done.
Flash cap. So you can see how flash is like a huge deal in the diving scenario, right? Like I wait
I
for
should have
one
called
of
it
you
off.
to take aggro.
All right.
Reset.
Yep.
Okay.
Sorry, Aaron. I should have said it's done the moment he flashed out at me.
And that is something that you can do, right? You can dive with the express intent of just getting flash and then leaving. And that is perfectly valid and within the rules of this game.
Yeah, that is acceptable.
I just don't. I don't know. Yeah, maybe it's just champion. Maybe we just need to be a higher level. Too much sustain.
Yeah.
I think too, like I've noticed that as the lane starts coming in, you're autoing the first wave like once or twice to set up your last hits. If instead you just let them all get super low and then last hit all 3 of them with Q, that will push the wave less.
It's true.
That's something that I often do if I'm trying to play a matchup where I'm not trying to push on Renekton.
I don't start with Q though.
Oh, you don't? What are you starting with?
Oh, E.
E?
E.
I start
for?
E.
Well, you could just E
I
through all of them too. That's perfectly fine too.
Yeah, that's really hard to last hit with that first E, but yeah, that's true.
I mean, if it's low enough to the point where you're, I mean, keep in mind, first wave is different than all other waves, right? Like if you are not autoing them and they're just aggroing each other, they're all going to be like one minion targeting one other minion, and so they're all going to get low at exactly the same time, and it's just a timing thing of like
All right, Aaron. This time
pressing E at the right moment.
I'm diving level 3.
Welcome to
Okay.
Summoner's Rift.
Yeah, that dives that you've been setting up is when it hits, we're gonna dive this time and see how it goes.
Okay.
30 seconds until minions spawn.
I feel like just with the change in clear speed here, it's gonna make all the difference.
Me too.
Between life and death lies immortality.
Because I
And-
feel like the slowest of slow
That Sejuani's not very good
pushes
right
is
now.
still gonna hit that freaking turret before. Yeah, she's just slow clear, especially with that leash.
Well, I'm
Minions
also
have
gonna skip
spawned.
camps on Jarvan to make it happen.
Yeah, with a leash, it might genuinely be possible.
Burden sleep.
Honestly, we
otherwise
should
it's
be
pretty
doing
rough.
this with you on Elise.
With me on Elise, yes.
Oh, playa.
Supposedly, Chris has a good Elise, but I've literally
That's
never
what Brock
seen him play
says.
it. So,
Oh, am I lagging? How come I can't? I think I'm lagging.
It says 19 ping.
It says 19 ping for me too, but I can't move my champion, and all the minions
Oh
are
yeah,
stuck.
yeah, you're lagged.
oh, you're
What
definitely
happened?
lagging because the minions have already collided.
It's
Weird.
jungle diff.
What? I got. I got DDoSed?
Something
That was me.
must remain
What?
buried.
Okay, I'm gonna exit and try and reconnect and see if that gives me control back.
A summoner has reconnected.
I'll just TP up. That's fine.
Empires. Your legacy will drift away, blown into eternity like the sand of the desert.
Youch.
This too must end.
Damn it!
If he had been there, it would have been a little slower.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know. I know.
I'm coming anyways. Actually, I'm gonna. It's not good. It's not good.
Yeah. No. We don't do this.
Sorry, DC Cap, Coach Cap.
He was really just sitting on the fountain drinking a soda.
Yep. I knew
Letting
that
us
this was the
counter
level 3 dive
ourselves.
counterplay.
For centuries,
I genuinely could do this, by the way, though. I think this is how how tops stop getting killed, right? Is you just fucking AFK.
I've done it. Literally walked under my turret, pressed S, got up, and went and got a snack.
Yeah, right. Ouch. It hurts. Dr. Mundo, it hurts.
Hey, baby. Uh-oh.
But I still have no potion on my lifesteal passive, so I'm fine.
Eternity is beyond your reach.
I'm very thankful for you for pushing these minions and letting me CS under turret.
Await
Yeah.
I mean, I thought Chris was setting up to circle around.
I can't dive you with that few minions.
All right. Well, I guess we sit.
Yeah, it has to be 1 or 2 waves under the turret.
the past is
Yeah,
attached.
you can let me out, trade with me, then shove once I'm low. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Life is part of the cycle. Yours is over.
Ah. Side 1v1. Smoke.
I'm diving.
No.
Okay.
I was gonna recall and chop. Get the
Let's keep this.
executioners.
Let's keep this alive. Let's actually play this out. I'm gonna go greedy. Ionian boots for faster stacks.
I was just taking advantage of death timers.
Divination
Yes.
by intrigue.
That's good, death.
That's what the high elo players would do.
Correct.
Yeah, it's faster than recalling.
It was.
Eons pass like days. I walk through the ages.
But you have to be careful. He has ult now. That will make diving harder.
All right,
Not
try
that
and
much
get.
harder.
Yeah, try and get. Okay, this could be the one, Aaron.
Yep, I think so. This is the run.
All right, I'm going.
Hey!
Money, we finally got it.
Very nice.
Okay, so I think the secret here is just not trying to force it at level 3.
Level 3 dives, you have to have champions that are pretty darn good at diving to make it work, right? Like if you have
Yeah,
like an Elise or something that can aggro reset, it's just so broken. But if you don't, like, it's rough, especially if they have flash, you know? If they're like super low, right? Like if somebody's like 400 HP, maybe you can get it done. But even then, with flash, it's pretty easy to outplay, you know?
Yeah.
So I feel like, you know, you have to consider your burst and your jungler's burst together and try and figure out like what that threshold is, right? And that's what you can dive with flash up.
It's significantly easier to dive bot than top level 3.
Yes, that too. Because you have 3 people, right?
Yeah.
More DPS, so it's just easier to go.
I want to know how the hell these pro players set up like these early game like big 3-man dives. Like maybe since there's a little bit of time
They
left, you think
literally
maybe try to
they
find a VOD to
reset.
watch one together?
What they do is they reset out of bottom after getting prio, and then 80 carry goes to lane, support goes straight top. And then they just like meet up with their jungler who just finished their clear. They just go. It's pretty disgusting.
So it's just all tempo, basically.
It's maximum like full coordinated tempo where bot lane knows exactly how to play their lane such that it works out, such that they are able to be at a time, at a place, in a matchup. You know what I mean? Like, it's like very, 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 very well thought out stuff to do these early dives.
Life and death continues. We will live. They will die.
But like, it's perfectly reasonable to like basically say like, yeah, as soon as I hit 6, like we can dive, you know? Like that's still a very
Don't play
hard
Nasus
winning
this
matchup.
time.
Don't play Nasus. I'm already locked.
It's okay. It's okay. You're right. That's fine.
What do you want to? What do you want me to play next time?
No. You're good. You're good. You're good.
I'll play something else next time. What do you want to hit? What do you want to see?
No, you'll see why.
I'll see why. Okay. Oh, I'm getting Elise Jaxed? Okay.
Some things must remain buried.
Lee Sin dives are also really scary from the Q execute and the mobility to get
Lee
out with W
Sin
after.
is also getting a buff next patch.
Lee Sin's getting buffed. Why?
Welcome to
Why?
Summoner's Rift.
Isn't he kind of booty right now?
He's okay. He's okay. He's like B tier. He can take a buff
He's
for
pretty
sure.
balanced.
30 seconds until minions
Well,
spawn.
okay, so it's the Worlds patch. They're just getting him ready for Worlds.
That's
Oh,
true.
I
That's
see,
true.
I see.
Lee Sin has got to be strong every single year for Worlds.
It's
a
true.
requirement.
It's true.
Yeah, because it's fun to watch Lee Sin.
It's really fun to watch Lee Sin.
You just
Lee
you
Sin
just fly
being good
around
is
the map.
awesome for the game. I think it's great. I'm quite thrilled with the Lee Sin
Well,
buff.
You know what? They have been playing
Lee
a
Sin
lot in free
being
play.
good is good for the game at the high levels.
It
At
is.
my elo, you shouldn't even be allowed to lock him.
True.
True. True and correct.
It is never ending.
All right, I think 3 might work for this.
Maybe.
Mhm. We took TP instead of Ignite again, so maybe not. But we'll see.
Well, Jax doesn't really take Ignite.
True.
But I'm just going to have to beat you up more before the wave gets
No
under.
dawn comes without darkness.
Fast.
Errant warriors fell empires.
Not me using your trading stance timer to get last hits.
There, for grace I go.
So if I don't trade with you, you get this giant wave.
Their death awaits.
And you get to be full health under your tower.
Yep. With like 8 caster minions around.
Journey into the beyond. Eternity is beyond your reach.
do get the bounce. And there's nothing I can do to stop that.
That's what we want.
Some spirits are fated to burn.
Damn it.
I can't gank you. It's illegal.
Yep. Oh no.
Return to the dust.
Got his flash.
Just set up the big dive if you can.
Yep.
Shurima is not of this time. Death is a harsh mistress. I walk
Just push the wave.
Yep. You gotta take aggro here.
You're fine.
do not try my patience.
Oh no. No.
You were
Nasus
playing a little
moment.
far up. I think it was doable.
I hit level 6 and I had to be so fucking scared. Like, I was 80 mana, and that's why I was hanging around, like, right here. I was, like, trying to get, like, 100 mana before the wave crashed into my turret.
See, realistically, what I should have done, and I didn't because I knew you were waiting to set this up. What I should have done is as soon as I got level 6, I should have jumped in and killed him.
Right.
And then from there, we look for the dive.
Don't ping me off. Tell me
drive
no. I don't
back
want to
and
do that.
Yeah, no,
We're learning.
that's the right thing to do, but I wanted to see if we could pull it off.
It was close. I think all that needed to change is you were playing a little far back.
Do you want something other than Nasus or Nasus again?
It's hard to dive.
Yeah, it is very hard to dive. Let's try something a little different.
What do you want? You can play anything.
Okay. Give me... Shit. I don't even know. Because we're practicing diving here.
You don't want this?
Give me Gangplank.
Okay.
Give me the GP.
Good choice. My GP is god-awful. Can I know what I'm into?
Yeah,
Fiddlesticks
Darius
stars.
Fiddlesticks.
Fiddlesticks and Darius, you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if the Fiddlesticks is the angle here, unless we're waiting for the level 6.
No, this time you are the one who flashes out.
Me.
Oh, I'm taking aggro. Okay.
We do wait for 6 though, generally. But because you have, because I'm the DPS this time, so it's a little different.
I can't tell if this
Welcome
is
to Summoner's Rift.
way harder than I anticipated it would be, or if it's just the lack of there being an actual game state makes this harder than it
30
should be.
seconds
This
until
is
minions
called
spawn.
me practicing two things at once.
Yep.
I don't think we're not being
Minions
patient enough,
have
Aaron.
spawned.
Because just because we're practicing it doesn't mean we should force it.
Yeah.
It does mean that you can force it just to learn what the landscape looks like.
Yes.
I do want to say, like, you know, you shouldn't necessarily just play for only what's free. But yeah, it's perfectly fine to approach it from the other side, right? Do what you know works, check out how much HP you have to play with there, and then try to get slowly more and more and more towards the line from the side if it always works. You know?
A reckoning approaches. Come. Paint the ducks in their blood. I'll burn it all down if I can't have it. Everyone pays.
I see we could go refillable. Jesus.
Yeah, the mana is rough.
Oh, what the fuck? Your auto attack range is that big?
It is when I press W.
Oh my god. Okay, well, I'm just dead.
Aced.
Well,
Lamau.
passive.
I'm
All right, I just
TPing
finished
back.
my clear.
I lost my
I just finished clear 315.
I'm so shit at this champ. This is great.
He is also getting a buff in the next patch, I believe.
A slow death will be their reward.
Alright, Chris.
Everyone pays.
What's your ETA, buddy? How long do we need?
Nothing. Flesh carries
I believe with Fiddlesticks we wait for 6.
Oh, okay.
I think that is the only way Fiddlesticks dives properly.
Another. Hang 'em from the
So I'm trying to actually practicing a couple things at once because I'm practicing patience.
Yikes.
Oh, that doesn't kill. That's
Keep
sad.
the weather eye out.
I had to blow refillable and press my W and pop a biscuit. I do live.
Bring it. My heart is iron.
heart is iron. True, Gangplank, true. I'm definitely cosplaying an iron player right now.
Okay, just try and be as slow as possible here, because I will hit 6 soon. Need a couple camps.
He says, "Don't hate the player, hate yourself."
A slit throat is too painless.
What percent are you at, Chris?
1 camp.
Oh, if you kept going, you probably just could have pinned me against the wall and got me.
Yeah, it's true.
Back off!
I felt dead there.
I guess I'm not really playing as much for realism as I am playing for, like...
Yeah, to set it up, I get what you're saying.
I rarely forget and never forgive.
All right, you can shove that now.
It's shoved. No! Thank God. It wasn't pretty. But it worked.
So what made it ugly?
I don't know.
I know. That's great.
Well,
What
if you
was
know
it
to
that
go
made
ahead
that
and say
ugly?
it.
Yeah, you leave me in the dark here.
Come on, bro.
I should have let you go in first. And then I go in, because I wasn't supposed to be tanking. So I needed to do
Okay.
more DPS.
I see what you're saying. So in this scenario, I need to be the one.
Yeah, and I felt like I had to go in because you weren't going in and the way was thinning.
I thought we wanted you to go in so you apply the CC and do damage by kind of hanging in range, because I think I out DPS you at this point in the game.
I agree
I
with
think
Aaron
you
here.
underestimate. Are you okay?
Yeah, I
I
think
think
that
you
Fiddlesticks' range.
underestimate full stacks Darius with ult.
I mean, yeah, the Darius DPS is always going to be higher. The thing though that really seals it for me is that Darius has no way to get out. So if I'm under my turret and Darius aggros, and then I are behind him, like he's taking 2 minimum tower shots, maybe 3. And that can get really sus, and he's literally just getting like an auto and maybe a Q, and that's it. And that's if I don't flash anything. So you're basically solo diving as Fiddlesticks against a 3/4 health Gangplank if Darius aggros first.
So should I have just taken another tower shot there? Was that the solution?
I don't remember how close it was. I was trying very
Did
hard to
we
outplay.
watch
believe-
the replay?
I believe I needed to take one more tower shot for that to be cleaner then.
Do you guys want to watch replay at like half speed?
Do you have
'Cause
replay?
I'm still. I don't know. Does it? Can you not play a VOD of a custom game?
Oh, maybe you can.
Looks like you can.
Oh, awesome. We just do that then. Yeah, I have the stream open so I can.
Yeah, I am very very curious where and how that got ugly.
Straight rules. Watch it.
A summoner has disconnected. A summoner has disconnected.
Yes, you absolutely should have taken another tower shot.
One more tower shot, that's the
2 more
problem.
even.
2?
Yeah, 2. You can tank 2 there. So I had the ward here, so I saw you coming. I saw you channeling ulti. And I was like, I just gotta leave, right? Like, I don't want to get in range of Darius. So you ult in. You fear. I cleanse your fear, but while... This was actually brilliant by Aaron. While I'm stuck in the animation of remove scurvy to cleanse the fear, he flash pulls me. There's no fucking counterplay. I'm just getting owned. I love it.
My bad.
So this is sick. You just stand right here, and you just chill right here. You know? And you can
Yep.
tank 2 turret shots. Aaron can finish me off. And then, even after I flash away, Aaron still has time to go kill me. Because he's ghosted, and is Darius. And then, after you take the second turret shot, then you can drop aggro, and then Darius stays up there.
That one. Yeah.
And then he wouldn't even have to ult. Which
Yep.
would be better for us.
So that's another patience thing. I've been too
Probably
impatient.
still-
Mm-hmm.
No,
You're
I
too scared of
probably
the
still would have.
shot, I think.
I probably still would have had to ult. I mean, your flash dodged my Q, and I was on some pretty gnarly cooldowns there, but I probably get away with significantly more health.
Okay. I can believe it. But you can see how it's a big investment, right? When you do a dive.
Yep.
You end up spending a lot of resources to kill somebody, right? So the reward is, generally speaking, not just the kill, it's the kill plus a plate, plus denying whatever remains of the wave, right? And also guaranteeing a favorable wave state afterwards, because this is gonna survive long enough that it's gonna, like my wave is gonna get doomed, and then it's gonna bounce, and I won't be able to stop it, and then Darius can freeze, and I'm doomed, right? So that's what happened there.
Okay.
So how are y'all feeling about this at this point? You feel like you have the tools to start working on it and getting better?
Yeah. I
think it's
guess.
reps. I think it's reps at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It seems like you understand the basic theory and the moving parts well enough, and now like you have the formula, you just got to fill in the variables now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me, before we go too far, I actually want to take a note
Yes.
on these, because I mean the question was obvious
Mhm.
about who should be tanking the turret if we paid attention to literally the first thing you said, which was the criteria,
Mhm.
and number one was range.
Yes.
Like it superseded all else.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's what I get for not writing things down. So
I mean, that's my fault too because I've literally never done a fiddlesticks dive,
Mhm.
knowing that
Okay.
I have the range. I interpreted the range as your ghost.
So number one criteria is range. Number two was tankiness, and number three was mobility.
I can't remember which exactly what order I gave them in exactly, but all of those things should be considered when you're considering who should tank.
Okay.
And in this scenario where it's the Fiddle and the Darius, right? Neither one of them is mobile, with the exception of Fiddle R, right? Darius is a little bit tankier than Fiddle, but if you look at the VOD, like not by much, and not this early, right? You're both just about the same, frankly. But Fiddle has range and Darius doesn't. And that's kind of the determining factor there, is that Fiddlesticks can do
Yeah. Okay.
all of the things from range and continue to channel R and just sit at edge of turret and still be DPSing, right? Where Darius can't do that. Darius has to fully commit his whole body and his center of mass to hitting somebody with his big axe if he's going to actually do damage.
Yeah, and your flash was like perfectly timed. I don't know if you were
Yes.
flashing the fiddle ult or the Q.
I was
But yeah,
flashing
what's that?
over the turret to try to put distance in between you and me and SimCity you around the turret.
Okay, okay. Yeah, no, the timing was immaculate there, so I think that kind of made it a little wackier than it should have been too.
Right.
But yeah, I've got notes now. Um, yeah, I guess it's just gonna be
Yeah.
practice.
And you can see how Flash is the single biggest tool that I have to outplay these ganks and these dives, right? If I have Flash, and I can create distance over a tower and you don't have flash to follow me, it is very difficult, right? But if you have flash to follow me or I don't have flash, then it's still totally doable, right? You just have to be willing to trade flashes, basically. So as I said at the start, right? Tracking flash timers is a huge deal because it enables dives that otherwise would be completely doomed, right? Like, guys, 2/3 health under tower with no flash, probably diveable. 2/3 health under tower with flash, probably not diveable. So, working together as a team to get better at tracking flash timers is going to be a big deal if we want to get better at diving.
Well, when we cheat, we use Professor.
Sure.
Me, Brock, and Chris all have it, so it goes to the whole. Everybody who
Yeah,
has it on their team can
they
see
sync
the
up, so
difference.
everyone can keep track of their lane if someone doesn't see.
Great. So
When you get cam on it,
it's a big
eventually.
so you got to get cam on it, and you also have to make sure that you're actually timing it every time it happens, right? And like
Yeah,
regularly calming about it is a big thing too, right?
Mhm.
Because if you see a dive opportunity and the opportunity exists because somebody doesn't have flash, even if everyone else can see it, that's the relevant information. You
Yeah.
can say dive, he has no flash. You know?
I think that's something worth practicing, is just calling out the state of people's summoner spells.
Yep.
Because we don't really do that verbally, because we can all see it, except for
Mhm.
we can't all see it, so
Yeah.
that's a problem.
Yep. And I don't even know if that's like legal in tournament play, right? I bet the LCS pros aren't allowed to do it.
Probably not.
So it's
Well,
also worth
I'm gonna do it anyways because I
yeah.
LTS.
It's worth considering getting good at doing it on your own at some point. But
Totally.
it doesn't have to be now.
If I
There's
hit
other stuff.
masters, I'll learn to do it.
Cool. Sounds
On
like a
the
plan.
other side of that, though, I think actually, like, besides just pinging it, taking the effort to hit that on the Professor and click it gives you a little bit of feel for how long their summoner spells are down.
Yes.
Because I
Which is
can
great.
kind of typically, without looking at the timer, I can kind of typically think, okay, their teleport should be back up soon.
Right.
So I think it's a little bit more of a learning aid than a crutch at this point.
Mm-hmm. And what the pros do is instead of clicking the button, they just actually type it out in chat and use Control A, Control C, Control V to keep an updated list of whose summoners are on cooldown and when they come up. It just involves doing a
And
little bit of that mental math.
yeah, they probably have the timestamps on in their chat and all that shit. So
Exactly. So somebody will ping it using the like flash ping when somebody uses it, and then after the play is done and everyone's like walking back to lane or something like that, usually the support will take the initiative to actually like type out the timers and paste them in chat. Not just when did this happen, but do the mental math once. When is it up? Because when it's up is your cutoff for the play, right?
right.
Your deadline for the play. And
Well, looks like we got some homework for Brock.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. So that said, it's perfectly reasonable to ask the jungler to do it too, because jungler is also generally speaking AFK hitting PvE camps, so doesn't necessarily have to
What are you
to micro
talking
so
about?
much in the jungle as compared to the lanes. If
My
anyone has
micro's
free
in my
time to type,
brain.
if anyone has free time to type, it's jungler support.
Oh, my micro's in my mind. I'm doing massive calculations about dives
Yeah,
and
okay, buddy.
ranks and stuff.
Okay, buddy. Okay. Let me know how you feel in a week.
Man, sitting here eating a Nutri-Grain bar while he's champion auto attacks camps to death.
Whole
No
grain dives.
shot.
Yeah. Very
We
good,
got to
very
get
good.
this man into a lane just so he can understand the
Oh my
I
gosh,
obnoxious.
literally
it'd be
played
so fun.
top lane for like a month at the beginning of the season
I
when
know,
I was
I
tilted
know.
by jungle.
I know. I watched.
All I learned is I knew the lane mechanics, but I can't CS, and I got frustrated because I suck at CSing.
Yeah, it's almost
Because your
like in
wave
order to
controls
CS
doo-doo.
properly, you need to actually pay attention, which you've never had to do before.
And also trading
And trading.
yeah,
and
no.
It's
It's
doing all of it at
not.
once that's hard, not one individual piece. Just CSing is easy. Just trading is easy. It's all of it together that's tough. That is the game.
Is that why other lanes can't compute the massive calculations?
Yes.
Because they're busy with the minions or
Look,
whatever.
Chovy just times everyone's summoner spells in chat himself and pings the enemy jungler's camps, okay? Like, I mean, you can just player gap in any role. But if we're talking about, like, optimally balancing workload between players for a competitive environment, jungle and support have the least micro to be worrying about, and so it makes the most sense for them to do it. That's also why they are traditionally the shot callers. It's also the most relevant information to them because you're basing your entire pathing around that information, and like support can base their roams off of that information. Support can choose like what targets are relevant and not relevant in a fight to peel based on that information. Like, it's all really important for the people with the CC utility because there's the ones that are generally calling the plays.
What if I just locked Kindred until I got good?
You could do that. That would be an option available to you.
Team would hate me.
I
That would be a
mean,
consequence of that decision, yes.
not if you got good quick enough to not suck at practice.
True.
Have you ever seen my Kindred?
Yeah.
No matter how many hours I sink into it, it gets worse.
Now, considering we're literally at the point where we don't even have a fifth member, I think if you ever wanted to get away with trying some funky stuff out, this would be the time.
Agreed.
As long as you're serious and committed about it, like
Here's how I feel about Kindred. It's like Giga Mind, like Omega Mind, Omega Mechanics at the same time.
Yep.
yep. And the
It's
trade-off for that is massive damage, tons of mobility, excellent diving, great team fighting.
Or I could just learn Kha'Zix
Got him.
Or you
or
can learn
Kane.
Briar.
Briar? No, I'm not learning that Kane. Man.
Echo. Echo's
I
dives
can,
are
I can, ar-
cracked.
I can
by the
already,
way.
I can already play
He's
Echo
got
if we want to play Echo.
so many AP champions though. We need
I already play Echo. If we want to draft Echo, I can play it.
the
I
way
feel
I see
confident
it
about that.
It's a
is
pocket.
like if you're let's say your
Yeah.
Jarvan gets banned out.
I
What
lock
AD
Sedge.
champions? What AD champions do you have though?
I have Vi.
Vyrexi.
There is Vi. You're
Rek'Sai.
right. I forgot about Vyrexi
I
and Nocturne. Okay, all right.
Well,
we're
Nocturne I
good.
can't blind. Can't blind that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's not a lot of champions you can blind right now.
Yeah.
You're telling me.
Yeah. It's rough. But anyway, to wrap up, out of everything that we covered today, what do you think was the most surprising for the both of you? Aaron first.
Damn, I was hoping you'd do Chris first. Let's see. What's the most? Okay, I got it. The most surprising thing to me was how do I word it? The most surprising thing to me was just how tempo centric setting up those early game dives is. Like it's
It's huge.
like they have to. These people have to be practicing with a fucking stopwatch. There's
Yes.
no way.
In-game timer.
Yeah, there's absolutely no way that you just accidentally like are diving someone at level 3.
No, it is a fully coordinated play that everybody knows beforehand. It's like the quarterback calls the shot, jungler goes into the jungle, says, "All right, I'm full clearing up, and then I'm diving at level 3." And the top laner's like, "Roger that," and they perfectly manipulate the lane, and then that's exactly what happens.
You have to know down to the auto attack. It's
Yes.
crazy.
Yes.
Absolutely crazy.
Yes.
There was not one time out of like the 7 or 8 that we ran I was able to like sync up the wave crashing with his clear.
So
It just
Aaron,
didn't
in
happen.
like when I
It's
was
hard.
doing my diamond climb, and I was pathing bot quite a bit because of the meta, they would set up dives like that every time.
Yep.
I was because they saw me
Uh-huh.
pathing down, so they said,
Uh-huh.
"Okay, we're diving."
Yep. Yep. So wave manipulation execution is probably something that you have to do some work on.
Yeah,
Because
I think the biggest thing, Aaron, is for top lane's different from bot lane. Diving is like low key optimal, but for top, I mean, it's so good. But for top lane, you've
not if
decided
it's
it wants to.
Cog Lulu versus Aphelios
Okay,
Yumi, okay?
fine. Okay,
In this meta,
let's
though, you're
say
right.
yeah, in this
Totally
meta.
agree.
But I mean, for top, you have to think if the jungler's pathing towards me, should I set up a gank or a dive? And most of the time, for top lane, it's setting up a gank.
Yeah, no, and that's typically what I tend to do. I get the wave push in, I bounce it off the tower, I go drop a ward in their jungle, and it's either
Mhm.
we go invade their jungler together, or on the rebound, we gank the top laner. Like setting up the dive though is something that I really want to learn how to do because if you watch any of these freaking pro play games, it's every game. Every single game, whichever top laner is up against their turret is getting 3-manned.
Yeah, it's tough to do that in solo queue, but with Brock, we can figure it out.
Well,
Mhm.
yeah, that's kind of what I'm more focused on is us doing it as a team and a
Yeah.
lot less being able to pull off
We
the
will
solo
get there,
queue.
but in order to get there, our wave manipulation in all lanes has to be really good.
Yep.
And until we get to that point where everybody is able to consistently manipulate their lanes to the roughly the place that they want to, these kinds of plays are not going to happen. And the other thing that pro players are really good too about is they never overcommit to a play. If somebody loses control of their wave, the dive doesn't happen. You know?
Mhm.
So they never cope. And they
Hey!
I legitimately had to clear my throat. That was not trying to throw shade. So
I don't
they
cope
never,
anymore. I only ego.
yeah, they never cope. They never ego, and they are extremely good at coordinating together by executing to a pre-planned set of plays. You get to the point in pro play where people are talking about like, I'm gonna dive on the 5th wave. You know what I mean? And it's like it's down to like this is, and again it's the same sort of thing of like timer, you know what I mean? But like, yeah, junglers take a certain amount of time to get to a certain place, and as a top laner, it's your job to, if you know that that's what they're going to do, and you want to be in a position where they can actually do something for you, you need to learn to manipulate your lane into something good at that timer, right? So it's hard. It's very, very, very hard, and not
Yeah,
just
no, I think the move is slowing down even more. Just
yes,
basically telling the jungler be here by wave 5.
yeah,
Because that's
Well, sometimes that can't happen
yeah.
because either they're not good enough to do that,
Mhm.
something else happens on
optimally.
the map.
I'm talking
But
'cause the way kind of Sam just explained it, the way it makes sense to me here is like he called it plays. I'm kind of thinking like chess,
Yes.
like opening moves, you know?
Mhm.
And like a set of like preordained moves like okay, this matchup versus this matchup, we've practiced this and this. I think this opening's going to be the best one.
Mhm.
And at that point, like you're so efficient, there isn't going to be a surprise random wave state elsewhere on the map. Like it's going to be exactly the way you set it up.
Yeah.
well,
And
yes
you
and
might get
no.
caught out, like, somebody might get like the enemy jungler might show up, or like so on and so forth, but like you should
Yeah,
have
Right.
responses to all of those things, right?
Yeah, you call
And
it off at that point.
yeah,
Yeah.
and you can call it off, or you can say, okay, like, the best that they can get is like we deny the enemy top laner 2 waves because they know we're coming and they just back off and like sack the 2 waves to the turret. You know what I mean? You see a lot of that too. Like if the enemy
Which is
top knows that they're
huge.
going to get
If they
no,
lose
they
2 waves in the
yeah,
early game,
it's
that is
enormous.
huge.
It's absolutely enormous. But the enemy jungler or the allied jungler, excuse me, the allied jungler setting up that dive gets nothing.
Mhm.
So it ends up being roughly neutral because the jungler has to hover to ensure that the wave gets denied. And so it's basically saying my jungler puts themselves behind to put the laner behind. It's like a gank that doesn't get a kill, right? It's like a gank that blows a summoner, but instead of blowing a summoner, it just blows 2 waves, right? So it can definitely be a valuable move, and it's definitely it definitely can be worth doing, but that's the kind of thing that it ends up boiling down to once everybody is like incredibly good.
Right, you have to take the advantage of what actually happened.
We
I
are
get it.
nowhere near that, by the way.
No,
No.
they're not even.
we
They're
have,
not even like. They're
we
not
have
that,
a
like that in Diamond.
long way to go.
They don't do
before
that in
to-
Diamond. They don't
Yeah.
do that in
Of
Diamond.
course. Well, they
So-
don't do that in Diamond because you're playing in solo
Yeah.
queue, but I get what you're saying. I'm just talking about like
Right.
ideally down the line.
Yes, down the line we
That's
get that.
like that's
Alright.
the ideal.
How much do you owe me? My girlfriend is bugging me.
Chris, what did you find most surprising about everything that we talked and did today?
That I need to practice fiddlesticks more. Slash, well, I found it surprising that I didn't take that extra shot, and I would have on like Eve.
Mm-hmm.
So I need to be more confident and yet more patient at the same time.
Yes. I think that's a good takeaway. Aaron, what did you think was the most important thing that you can take out of today's lesson?
Figure out jungle clear times.
That's a good one. I'll take that. Chris, how about you?
Most important?
Most important thing from today's lesson. If you're going to remember one thing in a week from now, from everything we talked about,
I'm gonna
today, what are you taking
remember
out?
how impatient I am in forcing the plays. So if a dive can't happen, don't force it.
Yep. I think that is a really good takeaway too. All right, folks. That's 2 hours. Let's call it.
Perfecto. Chris,
Yes.
I don't have PayPal. Do
stream.
you?